Well, good morning everybody and welcome to the channel. Hey, it's time for Toyota to get more dirty, more aggressive in their advertising campaign. Why? So that they can take a bite out of the Ford F-150. You know, the #1 selling truck in the country. Been that way for like, I don't know, 40 years, something like that. But anyway, what I'm talking about, they need to stress the negatives of the F-150 as compared to the positives of the Toyota Tundra. You know, we all love negative stuff. You know, I hate to admit it, it's a sad state, but we all do. For example, turn on the news. What's the first story you hear? It's always something negative, never anything positive, and we love it. They all do it. So, what I'm talking about here, and I'm not talking about mean-spirited, I'm talking about pointing out the positives of the Toyota Tundra against the #1 selling truck, the Ford F-150. They need to attack a little bit. You know, they did it years ago. When they first came out with what is today's Tundra, they wanted to call it the T150. Now, if that wasn't a direct attack against Ford, I don't know what is. It didn't work out, of course, because Ford sued them and they had to go with the name Tundra. But, for example, another company has done this in the not too distant past, and that was Chevy. When Ford first came out with their aluminum, you know, their military grade aluminum body, Chevy pounced on that. They took advantage of it. What they did, they went out, they bought themselves a Ford F-150, probably the first one. They parked it next to a Chevy Silverado, and they dumped a load of cinder blocks into the bed. They did this to show, or to put the impression out there, that Ford's new aluminum body was weak and that you should buy the Silverado because it still had the steel bed. Did it work? I don't know, but we're still talking about it today. So, what am I talking about? Toyota needs to concentrate on the positives with the Tundra and compare them to the negatives of the Ford F-150. Let's start off, and of course it's the perfect time to do it because they have the redesigned Tundra coming. The first thing is fuel economy. You know, it's rumored that this new Tundra is going to get 30 plus miles per gallon. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the F-150 is getting right around 22, something like that. So if you're out there cruising around burning gas in your 22 mile per gallon F-150 and you hear an ad comparing the new Tundra at 30 plus miles per gallon, gonna make you think a little bit, I think. Next, more horsepower and torque. You know, this new Tundra is supposed to have 450 horsepower. That's phenomenal. Also, over 500 foot-pounds of torque. They need to stress these things. Compare them to what the F-150 has. Reliability. You know, Toyota has been touted for reliability for years. Ford can't say the same thing. You know, right now there is an active recall out there, just happened I think yesterday or day before, on the Ford F-150. It seems like Ford is doing recalls against the F-150, I don't know, once a month, once every 3 weeks. That's 12 times per year you've got to go visit the dealership. Now, don't get me wrong, I think recalls are a good thing when the manufacturer discovers that there's a potential problem, right? That's what your warranty's for. But do you want to go sit at the service shop? Do you want to be there once a month? Do you want to be on a first name basis with the service manager? It's funny, I hear people say that in videos. They talk about taking their truck in and how well they're treated, and they know the service manager by his first name, and they recognize the customer, and they know them by their first name and their wife's name and the kids' names. I don't want to know the service manager that well. You know, really, I don't want to know the service manager at all. It's not like I have something against service managers. I just don't want to be there that often. Reliability. They need to stress that as compared to the F-150. It's a definite positive. Comfort and road position, or seating position, I guess. You know, I've had a couple of F-150s. I had a Ram Rebel. One of the biggest things I liked about the Toyota Tundra is how you sit in the truck. You know, it feels like you're driving an SUV. It doesn't feel like you're driving this massive truck, which it is. It's a big truck, but it's easier to drive because of the way it's designed. The way the hood is positioned, you can see over it. It's easy to place in the road, and it never feels like you have to be really careful. You know, like I did in the F-150s. it's a positive for the Tundra. Assuming they don't redesign that out of the Tundra, which I hope they don't, that's another positive that they need to focus on and compare against the F-150. Next up, aesthetics. Now this is an area that I hope Toyota works on a little bit. Not that the Tundra is an ugly truck, not by any means. I think they could probably leave it pretty much untouched and it's still a relevant design on the outside. Now they might add some Tacoma touches to it or something, because Tacoma is the #1 selling midsize truck. But anyway, they need to pay a little bit more attention to things like colors, right? I mean, there aren't a lot of color options out there on the Tundra. Once in a while, they throw in something like an Inferno or a Voodoo Blue, but typically you have to get it in the Pro version where it usually starts, and then it trickles down. They should be offered across all trim levels. You should be able to choose one of these cool, vibrant looking colors, and they should add more. I mean, look at Ford. They've got these bright reds and blues. Ram has, and has had for years, yellows and greens. They're appealing. People look at those kind of things when they first get into the market, right? I mean, who goes out and says, I want to buy the ugliest truck I can find. Show me the ugly ones. I don't know anybody that does that. I don't do it. So they need to be a little bit more visually appealing from the start. The interior. I hear lots of complaints about the interior of the Tundra, right? That it's dated, that it's old, that it's bland. Now, I will say, a couple of days ago, I think I was watching a video and an ad popped up for a Ford F-150, and it showed the interior of the truck, right? And it was pretty nice. I think it was some kind of a brown leather. Everything was all trimmed out. It looked really good. Now, I think about that and I compare it to the Tundra line, and really the only one out there that even competes with that right now is the 1794. You know, one of the top of the line trucks. You have to spend a lot of money to get into that. I think Toyota should focus a little bit more on the interior aesthetics. Make it a little bit more flashy. Now, I'm not saying they have to go crazy like Ram Rebel crazy. You know, I had a Ram Rebel and the interior of that was all flash. You got inside and it was trimmed out in bright red everywhere. The seats even had a matching tire tread pattern in them. It was pretty cool, but I realize not everybody's looking for that much flash, right? But they need to add a little bit just to make it a little bit more visually appealing, visually attractive out there to people. There's a reason Ford's #1. That's probably part of it. Now, what I mean by dirty, I want to clarify that. I don't mean that they need to do anything underhanded, right? The worst thing they could do would be to come out with some kind of a campaign that obviously is just designed to degrade the F-150. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is they need a campaign where they can actually focus on the positives of the Toyota Tundra as compared to the same features in the Ford F-150, because there are a lot of things in the Tundra. Again, I've had both. I had 2 F-150s, and there are a lot of things in the Tundra that are superior to the F-150. It's amazing to me today that Toyota hasn't taken more of a bite out of Ford's #1 position, and I think it's probably because they've just been unwilling to jump into the game, you know, to get their hands a little dirty, you know, to have an edge in some of their advertising and things. I would take them on head on like they did several years ago with the T150. Why not? It's time. We have this new Tundra coming out with all of these improvements and advancements. It's the perfect time to do it. I think they should do it now. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you appreciate the laid-back approach that Toyota has? Or would you think that they ought to jump in a little bit more? Get a little bit dirtier in their approach, if you will. A little bit edgier. As usual, appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the web. Have a great day. Bye.